for Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? Again, Friday, 5 o'clock, time for Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? I am Candace. I am here, as you can see. Victor and Michael are also here. I think we're all in our cars this week. You know, sometimes that happens where we all kind of have to do this thing from our cars. The beautiful thing about
Yes.
technology. I would ask everyone how their week has gone, but I know that Michael is not able to simply answer the question. So instead, I will ask if you had an opportunity to watch the debate last night, and if so, what were some of your takeaways? What did you think? And I'm going to give my takeaways first because I already know how this is going to work with Michael. So,
Oh man, I'm getting labeled already.
No doubt.
I'm getting profiled. I'm being profiled.
I would say, as far as the debate goes last night, just a couple of key things for me was one, as everyone knows, they had the ability to mute the microphones, and they only ended up having one time. Excuse me, I should not be muted. I just got muted anyway. But they had the
Good one,
ability to
Paul.
mute
Good one, Paul.
they
Good
had the
one,
ability
Paul.
to mute the microphone. Paul was giving you all the perfect example of how that works out. And they only had to mute the microphones one time, which I got to tell you, compared to the very first debate, I think that it went better. There wasn't too much of anyone talking over anyone else. So as far as that goes, it felt a little bit more like two adults standing up there attempting to have a debate about where they stood on issues. I will say that one of the things that happened often though was the president and his inability to answer the question that was asked, and how he would kind of switch it to something else, or he would begin to ask Vice President Biden questions as though he was the moderator. And it's kind of like, you're not the moderator. He doesn't have to answer your questions.
That's right.
But and I think that there were times where the vice president did answer or respond to some of his questions where I think that he should have just kind of not responded. But I understand that sometimes you leave some things lingering, um, and they all of a sudden become the truth simply because you left them lingering. So I get that. I realized once again in yet another debate, the race question would quickly turn to Russia, Russia, Russia. I realized that that conversation did not happen, and I think that's one of the things that kind of disturbs me about America is we never fully let that conversation about race play all the way out. Neither side really, they did the little light stance on it, like they always do. Of, oh, I'm not racist, blah blah blah. I think Trump shot himself in the foot saying he's the least racist person in the room. Like, okay, that means everybody
hey,
really is
hey,
racist,
hey,
including
hey,
you.
Candace, did you hear him say it's dark in here too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I heard that.
I also think that he took a jab at because he kept saying that Joe Biden was too busy selling pillows and sheets, and I didn't catch that reference right off the top. And so when I realized where that reference came from, I know Mike's gonna kill me, but I was like, oh, okay. Every now and then he has a little zinger there, so okay.
Right.
I think that as far as healthcare and all of that goes, we are still once again waiting to hear what the current administration is truly doing around healthcare. Which, by the way, I want to talk about his 60 Minutes interview and what happened with him presenting his healthcare plan or his work that he's done in healthcare to her. But just a couple of takeaways for me last night was the simple fact that the mics only had to be muted once. The debate was able to go on in a bit more of an adult-like manner. I was disappointed that the conversation on race once again went to Russia, Russia, Russia. But I feel like it was treated with the same snapshot that it's treated with all the time. And I think unless we can have a total conversation there, we're always going to be where we are. And again, that healthcare question that really threw me off. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am not a fan of fracking. We know the dangers of that, and so for both of them to be considering fracking is kind of one of those things for me that's like, as far as both of them go. But Vic, I'll let you come in after Mike. because we'll need somebody
Wow.
reasonable.
Wow. About a half an hour
well,
from
well,
now, right?
I'll be fracking here too. Listen, I think when we talk about what happened in the debate, I don't see it as two adults. I see one adult and one child. The child that calls himself the president of the United States. He's like a lying kid. You know that one kid you catch him in lies all the time. He's lying about every little thing, and that's what Donald Trump is. I think the American people saw the lies and saw through the lies from everybody from him saying he is done more for black people since Abraham. He's done more for black people since Abraham Lincoln, and
I
then
forgot, Mike. I
I
forgot
mean just
about the fact that he prepaid his taxes. I forgot about that.
Right. Prepaid taxes. Abraham Lincoln. I'm the least racist person in the room. When you got a black woman doing the moderating, I mean, like, come on, man. But this is how out of touch he is with regular people. He even called $15 an hour. It might be too much for people. I mean, this man is despicable, and I'm gonna use his words and his phraseology. He is despicable. At this point in time, anybody following Donald Trump, where are you getting your Kool-Aid from? And is it keeping you alive? Is this what we've come to as a country? But let me talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden kept his cool. He stumbled a little bit towards the end. I think he was getting a little bit tired. You know, he was getting the rope-a-dope was coming at him. But in the beginning, he was strong. He was concise. He didn't go do too much rambling. I think you're right, Candace. He talked about the fact of whatever Trump was talking about. He started talking about that. He still doesn't have a good answer that I would expect from a grown man who's got grown children, who the other party has children in the administration who are fair game. He still didn't go after Trump's kids. I get that to a certain extent. But at this point in the game, Trump even went after his uncle or something, or like his brother or something. Like, who knows about Joe Biden's brother? But Trump brought it up, right? Everything he can touch and anybody he can touch, except for Joe Biden, who he can't touch. And it's very disturbing that we have a president calling Joe Biden a criminal. And that means he can call almost anybody a criminal. Like, we can talk about Joe and call him slow or call him other things, not so swift, or even, a middle of the road Democrat. But nobody can accuse Joe of being a criminal but Donald Trump. And this is crazy talk from Donald Trump, and he becomes the crazy uncle, and that's who he is.
All righty, Vic.
Yeah, I did have a chance to watch the debate last night in its entirety, and actually, as these series of debates go, I think that this was by far the best one, right? And I think that, quite frankly, if I were to assign a winner to anyone, I would assign Joe Biden as the winner of this debate. This was one of the strongest debates I've seen Joe Biden give since 2012, when he was serving as Barack Obama's vice president, right? And you all will remember when he had a debate against Paul Ryan. He was just as strong in this debate at times as he was throughout that particular debate. He made some strong, as Mike said, concise, cogent arguments. He was talking policy, right? Unlike Trump. Trump was rambling throughout the entire debate. The only thing that Trump could do is to make personal attacks against Joe Biden throughout that debate. And what he was trying to do was he was trying to push Joe Biden off his square by attacking his family. And to your point, Mike, I think that, hey, if you go in there, then I'm going there. And to be honest with you, though, I got to say this too, though. It might have been smart for Joe Biden. That's not the kind of fight that he wants to get in from a verbal standpoint, right? Because comparatively speaking, Donald Trump is a brawler, whereas Joe Biden is a boxer when it comes to debates. So I think that was what Trump was trying to do, was he was trying to lure Biden into a street fight from a rhetorical standpoint, right? But with that being said, Trump's family was fair game too. Certainly his
Sure.
his eldest son and his daughter,
Yes.
right? They were fair game.
And his son-in-law. And his son-in-law.
Absolutely. And then with Trump trying to call Joe Biden a criminal, Joe Biden, man, he has so much material to work with as relates to Donald Trump and all the people in his administration that have been placed in prison or have charges faced.
Right.
They're facing charges. The latest person is this guy named Elliot Broidy, I think his name is. He was brought up on charges of being a foreign agent, right?
Yeah.
But I think by far this was the best debate that Biden has given. Now, to Candace's point, I didn't like how they skipped around the race issue, right? In fact, I think the moderator should have pressed that point. The moderator should have pressed that issue and drove that issue home. And I think that, again, Biden let him off the hook also. I think the moderator and Biden let Trump off the hook. I mean, Biden could have leveled a frontal assault against Donald Trump concerning all the things that he said and done regarding race. So
I think
that's the case too. Lastly, though, Candace, going back to the point that you raised about healthcare, Trump doesn't have a plan. The Republican Party does not have a plan, and the irony of this is that the bulk of Trump's supporters, as it relates to his grassroots supporters, are in need of the Affordable Health Care Act. That's the ultimate irony.
All day. That's right.
Absolutely. So those are my beginning musings, Candace.
I think, and good point, Mike. I'm actually really proud of you, Michael, for saying somewhat, center there.
I'm on topic.
I do.
The closer we get to Joe Biden being up 12 points in certain places, 8 points in certain places, getting over that 49-50% threshold, the more calmer I'm going to get, because I see a light at the end of this unholy tunnel we've had, dealing and buried deep into the abyss of the Donald Trump presidency. So we're digging out. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm calm, Candace. I'm calm in this whole thing.
I appreciate that. I do want to talk a little bit though about healthcare, especially since he kept saying that we're turning a corner, but what we're actually seeing is an uptick in the coronavirus cases. A lot of people are ending up in ICU, right? He even mentioned the vaccine and what he had coming, and he, as always, he pointed to the fact that now he's immune and they found the cure. But when he was further pressed on that, he couldn't really tell them, when it would be done or anything like that. But he tried to make it seem like, oh, we have it and it's here and it's immediate. But I want to talk about one. They have the Affordable Care Act right here. It's in the court. They're trying to repeal it now without being able to replace it with anything. He had a 60-minute interview in which the press secretary presented the interviewer with a huge binder, like a very thick binder, was saying this is his health plan and this is what he's done, blah blah. But when she opened the binder, there was nothing there. There was nothing in it, and I'm just trying to figure out. And even when the moderator asked, okay, well, are you still trying to downplay the virus? Are you still? And he never really gave an answer. But we are again going into, you have flu season on top of this virus, right? We're going into a season where people are catching the common cold anyway. After and another good point that was raised, because I remember talking to someone recently, and I said, at this point, they're going to have to keep the pre-existing clause, because when this is all said and done, as far as coronavirus is concerned, everyone is going to have a pre-existing condition. Everyone will have one at this point once we get through this virus. And so I was very disturbed about there not being a clear and direct health plan. And then not only that, but him attacking. And of course, that's what you do, though. You attack the other person's plan. But I want to know, what do you all think of the plan that Vice President Biden presented, since we can't go through the plan of what the president presented because he didn't present a plan?
Well, Trump has a plan for black folks. Didn't you hear it? 50 Cent is talking about it. Ice Cube is talking about it. So Joe Biden needs to get a plan for black folks, right? I mean, that's what we're dealing with, right?
Let
I
me
mean,
explain something to you. First of all, calling it the platinum plan for black people is it's tone deaf and it's insulting. Let's
Yeah,
be
it
clear
is. It
on what
really
that
is.
is.
It really is.
That's very insulting.
hey,
And
we
they
Yeah.
we love platinum things, platinum rings, platinum
no.
albums,
And
platinum
what
tires.
He
and
sounds like
what
a
the
used
Dems
car salesman, right?
what
A
the Dems
carnival
He
barker.
cannot
is.
afford to do, what they cannot afford to do is have another kente cloth kneeling moment. So they better not come up with some old gold plan or whatever plan. They better not do that. But what do you think about
I
the plan that Vice President Biden presented? Whoever wants to
yeah,
take it.
yeah, yeah. Listen. I think he did well. I think he talked about the issues. He linked himself to President Obama when he needed to, and
Mhm.
he cut President Obama when he needed
He
to
did.
too.
He
Yeah.
did.
I
Yeah.
was good with that. Joe Biden said to him one time, he said, because Trump was talking about he's trying to do what Bernie's doing, and this, and he said, well, wait a minute,
Right.
you debating the wrong person. I'm Joe Biden, and so
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
like that
Mm-hmm.
comeback. Joe went in the room and he studied, and he came
Mm-hmm.
out doing got a B plus on his paperwork, and I'm cool
Mm-hmm.
with that. I think
Mm-hmm.
it does also. I don't want to feel vindicated, but it also lets me know that people are getting this right. When you see this 50 cents and the ice cubes come out, what that is about is really plain and simple a black manipulation. Now, the good thing about racism is this: that if you are racist, you believe black people are stupid. And so we're sitting there thinking, well, you think I'm stupid, but I see you
Mm-hmm.
coming from a mile away, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
the good thing about racism. Although they hit you with overwhelming craziness and you got to be on your toes all the time, people like Trump thinking Ice Cube or any of these other people. So
50.
who else we got? Ice Cube
Kanye.
and 50
Kanye.
Cent and even Terry Crews and whoever. If they talk,
Kanye.
they speak for us. And they really don't. And we just look at you like, huh, this the best you can do? All right, then. You think I'm stupid. I'm definitely going in and vote because you think you're trying to play me now. And so when a guy like Trump starts talking about the platinum plan and using coded language and talking this nonsense, we see it from a mile away. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that motivates us. And that's why Joe Biden is up 49% in many places, and Trump is down to 39%. He's got 10% to make up, which is unbelievable. It's hard to do. Once you hit that 49% threshold and you're still up 3 or 4 points in most polls, you're doing good. You're doing great.
Mm. Vic, did you want to get in there?
Yeah, Candace, I didn't catch all of what Biden was saying about his version of the healthcare plan. What's the gist of his argument? I like to respond to it, but what's the gist of what he was saying? Because I didn't catch
He
all
was
of
just
that.
saying that there are parts of Obamacare that he would keep and some parts that he wanted to work with as well. He talked about introducing Biden care.
Yeah.
He talked about Medicaid and Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I think the biggest thing, Trump kept hitting him with, he wants to do socialized health care. And, you know, that's the thing that happens, though, is they tend to start using the word, they start
Yeah.
using, you
The
know, socialism
buzzwords.
and all that
Yeah.
to kind of put some fear in their base, to kind of scare them.
Absolutely.
But I think, as Michael pointed out, a good chunk
Mm-hmm.
of his base, his core base, good chunk
Mm-hmm.
of them, they absolutely need the
They need it.
Affordable Care Act. They absolutely
Yes.
need the protection that comes with
Mm-hmm.
the pre-existing conditions. They
Mm-hmm.
absolutely need the affordable part of the
Mm-hmm.
Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, and a lot of times, you know, Trump was trying to hit him with, well, you're calling it the Affordable Care Act, but people can't afford the care under the act, or the argument was you're trying to privatize. I mean, you're trying to socialize healthcare, and you're trying to take that away from the insurance
Mm-hmm.
companies and all that.
Mm-hmm. But to your point, though, this is a bread and butter issue, Candace, and I think that both candidates need to deal firmly with this issue, honestly, forthrightly, and head on. This is a basic American bread and butter issue. Do you know how
Right.
many millions of people have gone bankrupt as it relates to them not having health care. What? Absolutely.
Medical
Absolutely.
debt is ridiculous.
There you go. And this is the kind of topic such as racism is. It is an issue that America has to grapple with and deal with and handle forthrightly. So if Joe Biden is doing that, then I applaud him for doing that, because this is something that we need to address. There's no question about that. Absolutely.
Right. And of course, as you know, the night went on, they touched on several different topics. Again, I don't think that there's much that we can say about them touching on the topic as far as race is concerned, because they didn't really touch on it. Which is not very shocking, which makes me nervous, because it just seems like we're going back into a sense of, now we'll be lulled, we'll be lulled back into this false sense of everything is okay, when the reality is, what happens is you let this stuff boil over, you know what I'm saying? Until you get to the point where you have these huge moments that are happening everywhere, where you have all of these other countries that stand with us and say, in the racism. Speaking of which, we've got to pay attention to what's going on in Nigeria. They're asking the very same things we're asking over here, and they're being murdered for it as well. They're being censored for protesting about what's going on over there. So we need to make sure that we shed light on what's going on over in Nigeria. And we're saying, we need to end SARS over there, but just over here, you know what I'm saying? We have to be clear that, yes, this is a very difficult conversation, but the reality is that we cannot afford to not have it. I don't care how hard it is. We can't keep going like this. I'm reminded of James Baldwin when he said, we keep talking about wait. And he was like, I'm 60 years old now. How much longer do you want me to wait? And I was looking at that comment thinking, I don't want to be 60 years old still saying, so what are we waiting on? Let's deal with it, and let's deal with it now. I think another thing that they did talk about that I think maybe Biden could have pressed a little bit more, but I think it kind of spoke for itself when they got on the topic of taxes. And the president made the comment of course I've paid taxes. I'm so good at paying taxes, I prepay taxes. And so I think
millions and millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, prepay. He said his account told him he was eventually going to owe something.
I paid $10 million.
Right. He said he was eventually going to owe something, so he just went ahead and paid him in advance. I don't know how that works, but whatever. My thing is, even if you prepaid them, then how come you can't tell us how much you prepaid? Where's the answer to that? What was your take on the tax answer?
Yeah, I think that Biden should have cornered him on that one. I mean, give me a break here. I mean, what is he hiding? I mean, if a person is being elusive for X number of years, for the past 4 years, he's being elusive for a reason. And this goes back to the idea that somebody has him over a barrel. Could it be, as Mike would say, Putin? Or could it be a group of Russian oligarchs? Something is fishy there. And I think that Biden should have pressed him more with regard to that whole issue.
I think he did, Vic, bring up the fact that he said that you're talking about all of these things and you keep saying I owe China and I've never taken money from a foreign government. Meanwhile, you have a bank account in China. Meanwhile, you're taking money from XYZ. And he did kind of go down the list of, you've got all these guys that you're taking money from. And I think that's when Trump first made the comment, Joe, you're talking about my tax, but you were too busy selling pillows and sheets.
Whatever that means, right?
Candace, you stuck on that pillows and sheets.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Two things I heard women talking about the most: pillows and sheets and coyotes.
We're gonna get to that. We're going to get to that comment next. We're going to get to that next. We're talking about the tax issue and the president saying that he prepaid his taxes.
Well, listen, come on now. I mean, this man will lie, not just regular lies. He tells doozies. I mean, he said, I talked to the guys. I said, what did I pay? And he said, you prepaid. I'm like, what? Who said that? You prepaid before you paid? I mean, who are the people that are believing this man? And then let me say this about the Trump people. They gloss all over it. See, I gotta bring these Trump people out. Is this the best you got? Is this the best you can do? Are you not entertained? I mean, what phrase do I need to bring up before you Trump people finally decide that this man is nuts and he is hurting the Republican Party? I hope the after this.
Mike,
Uh-oh.
Mike, you probably need to get stationary because you're breaking up there.
Say Candace, here's another side issue related to that whole tax break thing, right? The Republicans, they have obviously the executive branch, right? And they have the Senate, which is a part of the legislative branch.
Right.
But the only piece of major legislation that Trump has passed was that tax credit bill. Was his tax plan, rather. That's the only piece of major legislation that he has passed. Right.
And it's important to talk about what did that plan do, Vic? What did that legislation do? Who did that help?
The rich. It helped the rich. Absolutely. It helped the rich. It didn't help me and you. It didn't help poor and working class and middle class people. Not at all.
But I think that what happens is when they say stuff like, oh, they want to raise your taxes, it's a twofold thing there, right? One, it's fear mongering for people who already do not make enough money for you to be raising their taxes to begin with. And then two, it's a signal for people who do make that money and who will be hit and affected by that. That's that signal for them to pony up and put some money and some dollars into this race so that you can make sure that we have enough propaganda out here to defeat what this man is trying to do, because I'm not winning right now. So that is definitely a signal to people who are making over $400,000 a year that, hey, he's about to really hit you in your pockets. So you better pony up during this campaign to stop him from getting in office.
Absolutely.
It's a twofold thing there.
Absolutely.
It's a twofold thing there.
I agree. But what does that say, though, Candace, about Trump as a person who works the Senate? His lack of ability to be able to push through or funnel through key legislation that impacts this country. What does that say about him?
So here's the thing, right?
His leadership or lack thereof.
I think that that statement that you make, it almost sounds like you've forgotten that you were talking about somebody who is not in office to actually be a leader or to actually do any real work. He pushed forth the legislation that he wanted to push forth, and that is to get that tax break for the people in that tax bracket. You know what I'm saying? To do himself a favor. So that next time the $750 that he finally paid, he won't have to pay that. And he only paid the $750 because he was president. Because before that, he wasn't paying anything. And so he's doing what he needs to do, and that's looking out for self. And that's what he's done. And that's what he'll continue to do. And that's what that tax legislation was him looking out for him. Him thinking forward of when I get out of office, hopefully he plans on leaving, of when I get out of office, that I'm going to be set because I'll be in this tax bracket and I'll have all of this information and all of this knowledge that people will want. Because, listen, I keep thinking of Red Dawn. This man is willing to sell what he knows. Okay. He's willing to sell what he knows. And so he's just thinking about the huge tax break he just gave himself in advance for all of the information he's going to sell for all of the stuff that he knows now. So I want to look at some of these comments that we do have. I want to make sure that we get that going. Let's see. The citywide Juneteenth, when we were talking about healthcare, said that they want my brother to sign over his house to stay in rehab. And that was, that was toward our healthcare conversation that we were having there earlier. Dennis Sykes says that he said he should have pinned him to the carpet on the race and Corona. You see, he had no problem mentioning the 3.5 million persistently. He also said, I never heard of prepaying taxes over a barrel is correct, but I think Biden did not want to look like he did at the first debate. He also said that this also contradicts what he said previously about being tax smart. And he said the fossil fuels help the rich. And that what gets me is he's willing to write off the human race for money. Carl, hey, Carl. Carl is here. How's it going, Carl? Carl said, Trump train. Can't stop it, but it may slow down. I love Trump. And Dennis said, right, it's all about him and his bracket and his rich friends. And then Carl says, Trump prepays taxes. The $750 was the application fee, Candace. I don't know, baby. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right, girl. All right. Oh gosh. Did you want to get in on any of those comments? Did you have anything to say about any of the comments?
Well, I was actually thinking about your statement, your response concerning
Hmm.
Trump and those taxes, right?
Right.
Which reminds me of something that Noam Chomsky had mentioned before. You know, Noam Chomsky, he's a retired professor emeritus from MIT. He's a civil rights fighter, activist, so to speak, and he's really a critic of the American political system, and particularly Donald Trump and the Republican
Hmm.
Party. But he also levels critiques at the Democratic Party as well. But he
Hmm.
was talking about, from his standpoint, who he believes the Republican Party's true base is. He
Okay.
says that Trump. He says, even though he's a critic of Trump, he says that Trump does a masterful job in terms of representing the rich. Those are really the persons who, as you
Hmm.
alluded to, Candace, Trump is really working for. He's
Right.
pushing he's pushing their agenda, right? And he was
Right.
saying that the Republican Party, as we all know, really is the business party.
Right.
Their base, their voting base, is not their true constituency. Their true constituency is corporate America.
Right.
That's the true consistency through and through. However, he was saying that they have to make it look plausible. So Trump has to play to a particular base, and he's great at throwing that red meat to his particular base as he champions, quote unquote, this working class message, this populist message that he puts out there, but he truly doesn't represent. That's what I was
Right.
thinking about as you were
I,
talking.
I think the beautiful thing about that is you've opened the door for me to talk about something that I love pointing out, and that's classism. And the way
Okay.
that works is to get people that are not in the same, that are in a lower bracket or in a lower class than you, to
Hmm.
believe that they are a part of something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To believe that
Yes.
you represent their ideals and their beliefs. So that way
Yes.
you have them fighting down at the lower tax brackets. You have them fighting each other while you
Absolutely.
are still doing what?
Uh,
Putting people in
uh,
place to pass legislation that you need passed to protect you and your interests. This
You know
is
what
what
this reminds
happens.
me, Candace? You know what this reminds me of?
What is
This
no,
reminds me of
no,
this reminds me of the joke
no.
that you used to tell that you don't tell anymore about
What?
the rich white man, the poor white man, and the poor black man, and they were
There's
all
a
at.
joke.
I'm not gonna tell it right. I'm not gonna tell it right, but I'll try. They were all at this table, and there were 13 cookies there. So the rich white man shows up. He takes 12 of the cookies, and then he looks over to the poor white man and says, "You better watch that black man. He's gonna get your cookie." And that goes hand in hand with your previous statement, Candace. That's how they
Right,
play us. That's how they play us, one
right,
against the other. And people don't see that. Why
right.
don't people see that, Candace? Why don't people see that game?
I think that what happens is when you create a system, let me tell you, this was so finely crafted. I'm not calling
Mm-hmm.
anybody. Hold on one second. My phone is
Okay.
calling.
Uh-oh.
What is that? I'm like, I didn't call anybody. Anyway,
Uh-oh.
I don't know what my phone is doing there. My car
Mm-hmm.
was doing there, but I definitely didn't call anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're a little upset about my conversation. I don't know.
Could
You
be,
saw
could
my
be.
hands right here. But yeah, I think that one of the things there is just uh, it's so finely crafted, right?
Yeah.
So well crafted to the point where, and this happened again. You go back and you talk about the Bacon Rebellion and all of that all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It
Absolutely.
happened that long ago, and
Mm-hmm.
they've managed to be able to keep it in place.
Yes.
Where if you
Yes.
make the lowest white man, and I use lowest in
Yeah.
quotations because those are not my words, but you
Yeah.
use the lowest white man and you make him think he's better than the richest black man or the highest black man, and you
Yes.
will be able to keep him in that mindset of they're the ones taking from me, they're the
Yes.
ones stopping my opportunity, they're the
Mm-hmm.
ones keeping me down, when the reality is
Mm-hmm.
the person that is actually keeping the lowest white man down is the other white man that looks like him. That is
Absolutely.
the thing.
Absolutely.
And so the thing about America is everybody's kind of bought into that, or everybody's bought into the pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all of this.
Yeah.
When the main people that are saying that have not pulled themselves up by
Hello.
anybody's bootstraps. They
Hello.
literally get money off of the backs of others. They have other people laboring. And to me, it was the craziest thing when they said that Walmart had made like $1 billion or something like that in a day, right? And in the comment section of when people were saying, you know, well, then they should give their workers raises from the top on down. And even if they gave everybody a raise, right? Or they paid them correctly, even if they did that, that billion still wouldn't even be spent. And that was $1 billion made in one day. And you had people who worked for the company who were not getting paid that much. They were arguing on behalf of the company, saying, well, they're the smart guys. You know, they're the ones doing the work. I'm thinking, you're the one doing the work. You're the one coming in every day, being there for the consumer so that the consumer can come spend money. You're the one stocking the shelf, making sure the product is available so that the consumer can come in and spend money that then goes and lines their pockets. You're the one doing the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Candace, that's amazing, right? I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. It goes with your point. I recently purchased this book by Isabel Wilkerson, who was the author of the book Caste, right? And she's also the author of the book that was a best-selling book. It was entitled The Warmth of Other Suns. However, anyway, as she's talking about Caste in her latest book, she says something that you alluded to just a few minutes ago. She said that when she was talking about caste, she said that the power of the caste system is in its invisibility.
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
Power,
oh, yeah.
And then she went on to use the image of a building, right? And she said that when a person is standing outside of a building and he or she's looking at that building, they can't see the internal structures that's supporting and holding up that building. And she says, so it is with the system of racial caste in American society and other societies that practice this kind of system of control. That there are people who will argue vociferously with both you and I to the idea that in their thinking, caste doesn't exist in American society. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, right? Because it's a foundational part of this structure.
But what is that saying? What is that saying about the devil? What was the greatest trick he ever pulled? What was that saying?
People were convinced that he didn't exist.
Exactly. Exactly. Same thing with this caste system. And one of the ways that we keep you distracted is we want you to believe that skin color is something that really matters or that really separates. Or that it somehow makes a difference, or somehow makes you better, or somehow makes you less than. Because if we can keep you embroiled in that argument on the foundational level, we don't have to worry about you trying to come up here and go, well, wait a minute. You keep talking against socialism, yet everything about your life is socialized. Everything about your life, I'm paying for. But yet you have a problem with socialism?
Absolutely.
You know? Your health care, I'm paying for that. You know what I'm saying? The house and everything you live in, I'm paying for that. Your food, everything. Well, meanwhile, you're looking for tax breaks, and this is a killer. You're calling these people who are not paying their fair share in taxes smart for not paying taxes. Meanwhile, you're down here breaking your back to figure out if you're going to pay a tax.
That's absolutely.
This is the thing that makes them smart, is that they've somehow convinced you that they're smart for not paying while you're paying. Like, come on.
As you say, Candace, make that make sense to me, right? Make that make sense.
You've got to make it make sense. You can't make that make sense. You can't. And so you've known for the past 2 years, my strongest argument has been the people need to wake up. This is my biggest argument has been the class system here.
Absolutely.
You know, I keep saying it. Even last night when they were talking about $15 and a living wage, the president of the United States had the nerve to argue businesses will end if they pay people $15. if you at this point have $1 billion business and you can't figure out how to pay people $15, you don't need to be in business anyway. You have a much bigger problem. And there's no way that you can work for a company that is making millions upon millions, or CEOs getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you are
Absolutely.
doing the grunt work. And they tell you that this grunt work is only worth you living paycheck to paycheck if you have 2 jobs. You have to have 2 jobs to live paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
And then for them to say stuff like, oh, we don't need to push a living wage on a federal level. We should leave that up to the states. Do not fall for that, people. Do not fall for that. Because if you leave the wages at something that the state wants to pay you, or if you leave it up to the state can decide to pay you $9.25, or the state can decide to pay you $7.25, or the state can leave you at $5.15 because the federal government has not lifted their minimum wage to make the state meet it.
Absolutely.
States legally cannot go below whatever the federal wage is. And so the federal wage being raised to $15 an hour means minimum wage has to be $15 an hour everywhere, meaning everyone makes a living wage. Meaning you do not have to continue living paycheck to paycheck, breaking your back, barely seeing your family, working 2 or 3 jobs that make you miserable. That is not a good quality of life.
Absolutely.
It's not. I want to get to some of these comments.
Okay. You're fired up today, Candace. I see you're fired up. You're taking Mike's place today.
Because you know how I feel about that living wage conversation.
Absolutely.
You know how I feel about that. You know how I feel about people living a miserable existence. That's not fair. And we as human beings do not have the right to make that call that someone else should be living a miserable life based on conditions that we put on them.
Absolutely.
That is crazy.
And
Bad biosphere project behavior. Haven't seen that in a while.
And Candace, to your point, I think the argument that the right makes concerning a fair wage is better suited at the smaller business level and whatnot. I can see how it could be difficult for a smaller business to be able to make these payments and adjustments and whatnot, but certainly not the corporations, though. Certainly not the corporations.
Right. I want to read a couple of these comments really quickly. And I got to go back a little bit here about Carl said rich people prepay. Carl, I'm mad at you. I know that you say right step in line with the message they give, whether you believe it or not. So, okay, Carl said rich people prepay. Dennis says, right, that is who is working for. Republicans are corporate America. Aldi said, absolutely, corporate America. Carl said, Trump threw money to gig workers with the PAU. This is why Flint is on fire with drugs, whores, guns.
What?
They shot a 3-year-old a few streets over on the east side. Let's see. Spectacle Production said, I'm still waiting for my refund. Is that how that works? We get a pre-refund too?
No doubt, no doubt.
Carl told next year's taxes, he'll get that. And then it says, actually, we are right to be the construction of the Constitution, a document constructed by the rich to protect their interests, and they courted the regular people because other nations would not support a document only endorsed by 5% of the people. So the rich had to court the poor to get them to endorse a document that was truly designed to protect the rich. The Republicans are doing the exact same, courting others to their platform, which really only supports those who make over 400,000.
That's a great point. I agree with him, right? And Candace, you said this. We talked about this a few months ago, right? The Republicans' long-term game, their end game, is to govern this country through the legal system, through the court system, right?
The courts are stacked.
How many judges has Trump appointed to the federal bench? Over 200, right?
Yeah, hundreds. Yep.
There's over 800 positions overall. Thus far in 4 years, he's seated some 200 federal judges on that bench.
Absolutely.
If he gets back into the White House, he's in tap to having place or will place upwards to 400 judges on the federal bench. And I agree with Dennis. And then also they're about to confirm this lady to become
Monday.
number 6 on Monday. They'll have a 6-3 advantage on the Supreme Court.
Monday.
This is major, man. That's major.
But they're confirming someone. They're confirming someone who couldn't answer questions. And one of the things that I tell people, and even though she's being appointed. But one of the things that I tell people, she's being appointed by someone that was elected. And one of the things you better be very clear on when you elect someone, you elect their you elect their ideology, you elect their character, you elect their beliefs. And so if you've got someone in there who's willing to pretend, because let's be clear, who's willing to pretend that he has these far right family beliefs, who's willing to pretend that he's really pro-life, anti-abortion, who's willing to pretend that, he's really scared that their guns are going to be taken, who's really willing to pretend that, and this is the killer. You can't say 1 minute you're yelling one nation under God, the next minute you're yelling separate church and state. What is that? What is that? It's the constant blurred line in this country. 1 minute it's, and then even with the whole lie of the governor shut down churches, because they love mentioning Gretchen Whitmer. So
absolutely.
We talk about she shut down churches in Michigan. We know that's not true. We know that she told the churches it was in her orders that even though certain places are closed off, what did she tell the churches? You still have the right to assemble. You can still go, but you had the pastors, the priests, and everyone else who decided we're not going because we're not putting ourselves in the position. But of course, obviously, everybody is not into policy or care about stuff like this. And so when you hear, or if you constantly only watch Fox News, and so you hear the governor's trying to stop you from worshiping, the governor's trying to stop you from worshiping, or the lie of now she's trying to take your guns. Like, you mean the same guns from the same people who literally stood over people at the Capitol making them vote at guns?
Stood over the state police. The state police. They challenged the state police.
Come on. What are we talking about right now? I'm like, what is that?
These are criminals. These are criminals we're dealing with. These are criminals. And listen. Go ahead. You got some comments? I'm sorry.
I wanted to go back to the comments because, Mike, what you missed was Dennis made the point about the Constitution and who was it was originally framed for, because we had got on the conversation of a living wage and what the president's comments about a living wage was. I want to go back to the comments because I did see a very good comment from Juneteenth who made the point of if we start making $15 an hour, they will just raise our rent and other bills and take it. And then from there, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I understand what he's saying about raising rent or what have you, but we do need a minimum wage, right? Just because we understand that the Trump mentality is to pay you as less as possible. See, we talk about Trump and immigrants and stuff like this, but remember, Trump is still employing people, slave labor at his golf courses around the country. There's seasonal workers that he brings in for the summertime and then ships them back to whatever country they come from. This is the mentality of this kind of sick management style, business owner style from a Trump. So we $15 an hour is just the floor to keep them from doing people wrong. And listen, what's the minimum wage today? What is it? $9, $7? We don't even. What is the minimum wage?
The minimum wage depends on the state that you live in, because federal minimum wage has not been raised, and so the minimum wage depends on the state that you live in, and it also depends on if you are not like a restaurant server or something like that. All of that plays back. So that question, that answer is different for different places and different people.
But that's what I'm saying. But we should. But the federal statute should be in place. And listen, we got to knock out this theory that the Republicans keep throwing up that is not true. Raising the minimum wage does not cost jobs. To be quite frank, it's quite the opposite. Because the more of course, when you make more, you spend more. And I agree with the guy's point, Juneteenth, the fact that, they will raise some prices on us and things like that. But at least we should be in the game. You should be able to make $600 a week, at least take home and do something with that.
That goes with another point of the government being able to step in and regulate that too, of not allowing that to happen. And if the government won't step in and regulate that, people need to understand that there is a power in protest. There is power in boycotting.
No doubt.
You don't have to go to work. If everybody suddenly decided we're going to stand together and stop working, They would meet your needs. But that is the
Well,
whole
that's
point in keeping you divided at the bottom and keeping you fighting.
yes.
That's the whole point of this, is that you don't wake up and stand together and say, wait a minute, how are you able to make billions in one day? But then you tell me I can't even get $15 from the billions that I am there making sure that you get. I'm the one
Listen,
Candace,
but when
it
you
sounds like a
start making,
union argument, Candace. That's a union argument right there, right? And they've
but
been
we say it
weakened.
all the
They've
time.
been weakened systematically, Mike.
Yes.
You're a union man, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they've been weakened.
And listen,
right?
listen,
So,
listen. I have to fight these battles that we're talking about right now, right to work and some of these other things. We got a lot of Trump union members, but what happens? What Trump's being in solidarity with me as a union member is their race, right? And so that trumps everything for some of these people. But I also
Let me
want to talk
tell
about
you.
what Trump said. But I also want to talk about what Trump said, and I don't know if it's been touched upon. Listen, we talk about the kids being snatched from their parents. 545. Now that's just the number they're reporting. I guarantee you, it's more than 1,000 of young people. See, they're not talking about the people that. They're not talking about the people that are 16 and 17 who kind of know their parents, but they might have a way to get back to them, and they're fending for themselves right now. We're talking about infants, y'all. We're talking about 2 years old and 3-year-old babies who wouldn't know their mothers. Their parents may not even know them now. This is a tragedy among gargantuan importance. We got to keep talking about it. And when it was brought up to Trump's face, he did the Barbara Bush a la the Houston Stadium after Katrina. This must be a nice place for them. Remember how Barbara Bush said that?
I remember that.
She was so out of touch. Donald Trump said, we are taking the best care of these people you can ever imagine. How out of touch can you be?
Mike, let me tell you, no. What he said at first, hold on, let's go with what happened at first. So first he tried to say, oh, it was beautiful, right? Then he tried to say that it was the coyotes doing it or whatever. The coyotes were the ones, whatever.
That's
but
right.
he missed the time. He missed the fact that the term was parental separation, meaning you were taking them from their parents.
Exactly.
But I think another thing that he did, which was crazy, he deflected. He said, okay, they're in cages, but who built the cages? Okay.
Right.
You needed to use them since they were there, huh? Okay. But I want to get to, I saw that someone else made a comment, and I absolutely got to get to this comment, right? So we talked about the governor and how she did not, well, first I want to do this. Dennis said, that is only true if those making six figures do not up prices to compensate for the sudden drop in stock payer dividends because minimum wage was up. And then Carl said, call him Deep Red. Like, I guess he made up his own name. Carl, we didn't give you that nickname.
Yeah, right.
We make the names around here, Carl. Specifically Candace. Candace makes the names around here.
And then Carl said, Candace, half Whitmer. He's referring to Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Wow.
Wait, Mike, wait for this. He said she issued over 200 orders. Who can track church orders? Hi, Carl. Candace.
She does it every day. Every day. She's online tracking those orders.
So the answer to your question of who's tracked her orders, there's not one order did she put out that I did not track. Not only that, Carl, but before you comment on an order, you might want to make sure that you know what the order is and what it says so that you do not get caught with your pants down, meaning so that you do not get caught when everybody knows that you don't know what you're talking about.
That's right, Carl.
It's people who truly care and understand policy and want to share it with everyone else. So I can tell you for a fact that the churches were never shut down or never told they couldn't go to church. Religious gatherings were never stopped. The pastors, the priests, all of the church leaders decided that it was what was best and safe for their congregations to keep them at home. So they switched to online models. Not the governor says you can't worship. The same way with voting. While there's a mask mandate in place, what does the governor say about mask and voting polls? you can't deny people their right to vote if they don't want to wear masks. So you
Uh-huh.
got
That's right.
I mean, it's like we get you don't like her, and we get that there are going to be lies, but you can't. I mean, it's lazy and it's irresponsible to go, well, she said we couldn't go to church, and then when somebody comes in and corrects you, says she never said that, goes, well, she had 200 orders. Who read all of them? Me. Hello.
Right. That's true.
No doubt.
She
No
got
doubt.
you, girl. She got you, man. She got you. She reads all that stuff.
Yes,
From
she
top to
does.
bottom, man.
Yes, she does.
She's a policy wonk.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And I read it so that people can't get one over on the average everyday person.
Yeah.
I read it so that we do know what's going on. And
There's a track
I
record.
read it for such a time as this, Carl, to correct you on what you're saying with the disinformation. I want to read another comment here, guys. We do have another comment. Dennis says, the Trump mentality is profit considerably higher than overhead. You are right. The new slavery. The current Republican Party has placed themselves in the place where the former Democratic Party was during the compromise of 1860. When they made the government remove themselves from the South and couldn't uphold the new 14th Amendment, and instead they installed that guy Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. This is about power,
after,
y'all. They want to maintain power.
Yeah, they had to kill Reconstruction. And let me. Stephen Miller with the caging of babies and stuff like that. This policy now is to kill the Reconstruction from the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Right? This is to kill that Reconstruction.
Absolutely.
Right? This is the new Reconstruction. So now you send in. Look, no laws are being broken now that you can go in front of polling places. You can strike people off the rolls. You can put up ballot. Look, they put up phony ballot boxes in California.
Yes.
And I haven't heard of one prosecution yet.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, yeah. No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Are you kidding
me?
I mean, listen.
That's amazing.
If I went and set a mailbox on fire, I could go to prison.
That's a federal crime, right, Mike?
Federal crime, man.
So to your point, why aren't they pushing that, right? To tamper with the ballot. That's a federal crime,
Absolutely.
too.
Of course it's federal crime.
You
but you know who's doing it? It's not us.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
Do you want to know what's funny? Carl then shot back and said, too many orders by a governor. I find it absolutely appalling that you would be upset about orders that were made to keep you protected. But I don't see people having the same anger
fervor,
and the same energy about that emergency manager law, which is literally designed to take away the rights of elected officials. Did you not hear me? The emergency manager law is literally designed to stifle the voice of the voter by taking away the power of the elected. Absolutely. And that was enacted by Governor Rick Snyder.
There you go.
After the people voted on that and said, no, we don't want that law in place, they then took it back. Republicans in Michigan then took it back and attached an appropriation to it so that it did not have to be a public referendum. So let's be clear. You want to talk about orders and things you should be mad at. I need you to have that same energy for the emergency manager law, which literally strips the voice of the elected, which literally strips the voice of the voter.
Candace, there goes that cookie again. There goes that rich man and that cookie.
That's right. Well, but look, it's feigned anger. This is really not true anger, y'all. This is not true anger. Listen, I say this all the time. To the racists, I have a question for you. If you're a racist white man, you are number one on every list that's good, and you're at the bottom of every list that's bad. The country's working for you. You can go out buy all the guns you want and bazookas, and nobody's gonna stop you. The police treat you well, even when you pull a gun on the police, they don't shoot you down in the street. You can live in any neighborhood you want. You can go anywhere you want. You can talk crazy to black folks, white folks, and other folks, and really not suffer any consequences. What are you angry about? What are you angry about? This is your world. And let me say this. In contrast for black folks, we have so much to be angry about, and we're still just happy. We haven't burned this place down. This country that we love. We love, a la Doc Rivers, we love this country. And people like you don't love us because we're in this country. So the question for me about a lot of this is, what are you angry about? Really?
I want to read a couple of these comments, right? I want to read a couple of these comments. Dennis says, Carl, she has a friend who can help her track any order you need to watch. No Neighbor Left Behind. My friend, she's a super nerd. Dennis, let me correct you. Because while I certainly do appreciate the person that helps me on No Neighbor Left Behind, any and every order, anything relating to policy, that would be Candace. Okay? that would be Candace. That would be her years of legislative experience. But I agree. So when you guys are asking who's reading all that policy, who's sitting down doing all that, policy readers. So I want to point out another thing where WFOV said that I don't understand not being able to reunite the parents who are looking for kids. He said, take them to the kids. He said, maybe are you missing the kids ad?
Right.
No doubt.
No. Okay, go ahead. Can I get that after you get done? I want to talk about that.
Then Carl said she can't protect me. I protect myself. I wasn't here for the emergency manager. Couple things with that one, Carl. One, when you say you weren't here, do you mean state of Michigan? Because if you mean you weren't in the state of Michigan, or unless you mean just the city of Flint, because regardless if you were in the city of Flint or somewhere else in the state of Michigan, you were here for the emergency manager law. It affects you, period. It wasn't they affect an appropriation, and so now only Flint or poor urban cities are affected by that law, even though they only enacted on poor urban cities. At any point in time, whomever they would like to enact that law against, they can. And furthermore, if you mean, Carl, if you weren't in the state of Michigan, talk about you weren't here for the emergency manager. Last time I checked, that law is still in effect. So you are here for the emergency manager. It affects you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Aldi said, "Know your stuff, Candace," with a question, with a exclamation mark. And then Dennis said, "Yes, it's all about power, not just money."
Yes,
also,
yes.
3 to 5 years ago,
Absolutely.
they snatched away. Victor, what is the name of that law where universities would install more minor? Do you really want to talk
affirmative
about
action?
Don't get me started on what happened with affirmative action and the okey doke they pulled on people.
Yeah.
If the youth are not careful, the progress made during the civil rights will be snatched back. Oh yeah, affirmative action. You guys better be vigilant. They are systematically reversing civil rights.
Absolutely.
Then he said, yes, I thought he needed to know because Nikes don't taste good to the tongue. He said, Carl, you put your foot in your mouth. And Carl said, Carl, I'm sorry, I didn't see your cage comment. I can't see it. We've had quite a few comments since then. I'm sorry.
So this is what I want to talk about. Can I address this? So first of all, let's talk about the cruelty that is Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and all of his sycophants. I remember at the time, it wasn't Kayleigh McEnany, but Sarah Huckabee and all the rest of them were saying that they're treating the kids wonderful down there. But remember, they want to keep Latinos and people who are coming to freedom, they want to keep them frightened and terrorized. This is a terrorism tactic to snatch your children away from you. Cruelty is the point they're trying to make from you. If you come across that border, we're going to treat you like dirt. We're going to treat you, we're going to snatch your kids from you. We're going to put you in a dangerous situation. But also on top, what happened?
You're still on. You're still on. You're still on.
You still on?
I'm froze up. But also one of the problems we have with that is this. The cages, when they were built, yes, by the Obama administration, to hold people for a brief period of time, and then they would catch and release them so they could come back and show back up, right? So we're talking about right. But the Republicans can't have it both ways. Either you say, hey, they were catch and release and it was wrong because they know it went on, or you say they were putting them in cages. It was a brief period of time. Republicans aren't doing that now. They're holding them in cages for long periods of time. They're holding them in cages for years. Think about this. We've been talking about this since 2017. It's now 2020, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And those babies have been ripped away from their parents. Their parents have been sent back to dangerous situations. They're dead. They don't exist. Listen, y'all talk about a sex trafficking ring. What is happening to these children?
Mm-hmm.
They are being sexually abused, mentally abused, physically abused by all of these individuals that have them in their custody right now.
Right.
We don't know what happens to a kid that was 16 and now he's 18. Is he released or is he still in prison?
That's a good point.
What is going on? This is the and let me say this too about the cruelty part of it, and this is where the racism comes in. I tell you on my life, if there was a bunch of white kids, white folks, you think they got guns now storming the Capitol of the state of Michigan. These same people will be down there storming the gates of all of these detention centers right now saying release the kids. But they don't care about these other kids who are brown skin and Latino. That is wrong. It's un-American, and it's not what we're about as Americans.
And Mike, let me add another point here, right? Candace, unless you have another issue you'd like us to tackle real quick. This is something that I've said some time ago that's been reoccurring. It's been coming up in the news lately, right? As I watch a variety of different shows, as we all do. Your boy Roland Martin, Jeff Johnson, and a number of other people have been making this point in the face of everything that you just said concerning Donald Trump's mishandling of these various policy issues. But the fact remains, from a political standpoint, both of these parties, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, are engaged in the battlefield of ideas, right? And to that point, Roland Martin even said earlier this week on his show, confirming the point that I was making, that there are sources that are stating that still, with all that evidence that you've just put forth, Mike, concerning black men, he says that Trump could possibly receive anywhere between 14 upwards to 20% of the black vote. And what he and other talking heads were saying is that they're looking at this a little differently than how we look at this, right? Concerning how we disagree with Trump's policies, there are certain black people who are becoming increasingly vocal about their support of Donald Trump and all of that. So to my point, once again, though, Candace and Mike, I submit to you that the ground is shifting. And even if the Democrats win this election, they're going to have to talk to black men. They're going to have to address the economic concerns of black men, and that's really one of the main points that they're raising. What do y'all think about that? People are still talking about this.
Listen, I think black women hold the wealth in that community, right? Am I wrong?
So they hold the pulse of the black community?
They hold the wealth in the black community. Black women do, right? Am I right or am I wrong?
You certainly, when you look at certain demographics involving black women, you certainly have black women who are making more money, who are ascending to different positions in the corporate structure. Educationally, they're making strides as well.
Mike, I see where you're going. Mike, I see where you're going, and I'm telling you, I don't like it because that's how you infuriate people to go vote for Trump. I see where you're going, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Where am I going? Hold on. Wait a minute. So wait a minute. What I'm saying is this. I've been muted. Why mute me? I've been muted. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. The biggest voting bloc, the most powerful voting bloc for the Democratic Party is black women. Absolutely. And so we've got to pay homage to that which is loyal to us, to the Democratic Party. Okay.
But where were you going with bringing up the point? What were you trying to say? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you were being dismissive, then you just proved Vic's point. If you were about to dismiss.
What I'm trying to say is this. If black men get their act together, and I like 50 Cent and Ice Cube and the rest.
Come on, Mike.
Come on, man.
Hey, black women are doing the thing They are pushing the agenda. They are in the vice president's seat.
Mike,
they are running this doggone thing.
You won't get an Mike. Mike, you won't get an argument from me about sisters. You won't get an argument, Mike. You won't get an argument from me about black women. You ain't.
So as black men,
but what I'm saying,
black men,
Mike,
we have to get our act together.
Mike. But there are brothers who are saying, you know what? When are we going to have this return on investment as relates to all the years of voting for the Democratic Party? Now, Mike, as a salesman, as a true blue Democrat that you are, I haven't heard you deliver a pitch on behalf of your party or what you think that the party should do and to try to win over these disgruntled voters, Mike.
So let me give. So I've given this pitch before, but maybe you've been striking out. So let me keep giving this pitch again.
No, I'm wide awake, bro. I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake, bro. I'm wide awake. I ain't missing nothing. I'm wide awake, Doc. I'm wide awake.
So let me
it's the battlefield of ideas.
They
ain't saying just vote for me simply because that was yesterday. They're saying, what have you done for me lately? That's what they're saying, Mike.
All right, so
that's what they're saying, Doc.
At every level of the Democratic Party, black people, black men, black women have their voices heard and their agenda is adhered to. Now, don't get me wrong. We may miss out on some points of the far left liberal aspects of black life, but when we talk about moving forward and putting the black agenda squarely in front of the Democratic Party and putting black people in place, we do that in the Democratic Party. That's why you don't have blacks for Democrat signs or blacks for Biden signs, because we there. We all about that thing.
According to
we involved in it.
Like according to them, something is missing.
But hold on. You're always going to get people who have who are naysayers.
We're going to dismiss their points, though. Then, huh?
No. Wait. I'm gonna say. See, all right. So let me. That's one pitch. Let me get a second pitch.
Okay.
The second pitch is we keep as 89% of black males vote Democrat every year, right? Now, what about our return? So what are we talking about? Prison reform? Obama did that. We're talking about health care. Black men need health care more than anybody. Obama did that. We go get our prostate exams and all this stuff. Obama did that. We're talking about marijuana laws being reduced and drug crime courts being created. Obama did that. I mean, do I have to go down a list of these things that is strictly dealing with black male issues?
Job development, economic empowerment. I think from a communication standpoint, we need to listen. Mike, we need to listen to them and not talk at them. That's the point I'm making. Go ahead, Candace.
So real quick, my question is, Vic, and I'm going to pose it to you since you did this, and them saying they're tired of voting Dems without getting any return on their investment, and what have you done for me lately? What has the Republican Party done for black men?
Well, you won't get an argument from me. You won't get an argument from me regarding that. I don't think the Republican Party has done much from that standpoint, to be honest with you. But I understand that as it relates to looking at both parties, they both are involved in the battlefield of ideas. And I get, here's the point I get that they're making. Our vote should not be taken for granted. Right, and we should not just give our vote away. We need to leverage our vote. And this is what I think that we're going to see increasingly, no matter what the outcome of this current election process will be, whether Trump is placed back in the White House or whether Biden wins. I think what you're going to see is people are going to increasingly hold both parties' feet to the fire. And I think you're going to find more black people holding the Democrats and the Republicans accountable for their actions and what they do.
Listen, Vic, as it should be. I think the one good thing that came out of this is that it jarred a lot of black people awake in a way that has not been done in a long time. It helped them see, you can't tell me. I think, and that's another reason, even though while we can't say why Cube came out and did whatever he did, what I will say that it did do, take him out. What I will say that it did do was it woke a lot of young black men up, a lot of black men up to say, you know, he's right in the fact that there should be some demands placed that we should come and do X, Y, Z. So I think the good thing that did come out of that is once Joe Biden wins, his feet will be held to the fire. And I think that's what should happen, as it should be. I think that, I said that all the time about no matter who is in government, no matter who's in the leadership, no matter who's been elected, they need to be held to different standards. Different communities need different things. And so they need to figure out how to make this a better country for everyone.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so I think the good thing that came out of this is you will have a lot more people paying attention and willing to hold people to the fire. I do also realize that once Joe Biden wins, he will be disproportionately blamed for some stuff. But that's
true.
That's what comes with this. So hopefully he's prepared to be blamed. Hopefully he's prepared to have more people. Wait a minute. Hopefully he's prepared to have more people knocking at his door trying to make him do something that they weren't trying to make Trump do. Because let's be clear, nobody really was trying to make Trump do anything.
True.
And so hopefully, but I think another thing that you have to realize too is people often attack the more sensible person. My thing is, I think a lot of people realize with Donald Trump, you're not going to get nothing out of him anyway. And even if you do, you won't get it for long, or there's some kind of string attached to it, or he told you he was going to do it, he's going to lie, and then the next week say he never told you he was going to do it. Whereas Joe Biden is more sensible, more willing to work with you, more willing to change some things, put some laws in place, change some policy. And so what you got to understand that when normally when there's an argument and two people are yelling, they usually tell the more sensible person to be quiet, correct? Because they know this fool ain't finna do nothing anyway. This fool's not gonna be quiet. So it's the same thing. And so the push has to be to get the more sensible person in office, the person that you're really gonna get something from, as opposed to leaving the person in there who's shown you all I'm gonna do is fix some taxes for myself and my buddies. So that when I do leave out of office, the $750 that I barely paid, I'm not even gonna pay that. You know what I'm saying? Or the person that is telling people to stand back, stand by. The country can't keep going at this pace. It's been manic for 4 years. We cannot keep doing this. It is imploding. It's imploding. I think, and with that said, we have like 1 minute left. Mike, give me your 30-second closing go.
Well, look, I think we're missing a major point here. Since 2010 and the Tea Party came in, they've been blocking President Obama. They've been blocking every Democratic proposal. Right now, as we speak, the relief for every American is sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk and he refuses to sign it, right? So we cannot act like we as Democrats and our good people are going to go out and do everything we can when the people have not got these Republicans out of power. They've been in place for 10 years, y'all. This is why we are suffering as a country, because the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, have been running things for 10 years. Don't act like they haven't been blocking policies that can help black men. If we want to get out and we got to get these bums out of here, we got to throw them all out. Right now, today, quit playing them. Lindsay's got to go. The lady in Maine, she's got to go. The guy down in Texas, John Cornyn, and so many others, they have to go. That way we send the message loud and clear, not just this year. I want to start talking about 2022, which is going to be critical. In 2022, we've got to make sure we keep the Senate and we keep the House, so we keep policies and keep Joe Biden, or by that time, maybe Vice President Kamala Harris might step in. So we push her forward so we can make sure we get something. Let's vote today. Let's quit arguing about it. Let's fight.
All right, Vic, go ahead. Give me your last 30.
Absolutely. People, if you're looking for a leader, look no further than yourself. Look at the mirror and you're bound to find a leader staring right back at you. Embrace the leader from within. That person will never lead you wrong.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read a couple more comments. We don't have to reply to the comments. I'm just going to read them. They're afraid of Trump because Trump isn't afraid. That makes him dangerous. Aldine said, don't forget the Black Caucus has already had the House to pass much of what Ice Cube plan suggests. It's now about the Senate to vote and pass it. McConnell. And then Dennis said they blocked Obama. He couldn't get anything done in Congress. He had to bypass Congress and deal directly with governors. And then I'm gonna close out on Casey's comment because we haven't read one comment from Casey this whole time. Casey said Biden 2020, Harris 2020, protect the Black woman. My goodness. So my closing statement is going to be what it always is. Okay, and that is Down with classism, people. Okay.
Get your cookies. Get your cookies.
We will be back here next week at 5 p.m. Anyway, with Candace
and Victor.
And Michael will be back next week. Come on, D Blue.
I'll be back.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.